Hi everyone, time for a receiver review. And this week it's on the Sony STR V7. Stick around. Alright, so this is the Sony STR V7. Now the V7 was, for one, the V line itself. Short-lived, only manufactured the latter part of the 70s. 79 to 80 is when the V7 was manufactured. It was the largest of the series, and it was all of the V series, by the way, were only exports from Japan. They seem to have a much better traction over in Europe. They sold a lot more units in Europe than they did the US. Just couldn't seem to get the traction here. As it retailed for $900, there was certainly a lot of competition in that price range, and it seems obvious to me that probably the other manufacturers, Marantz, Pioneer, Sansui, etc., probably had the market share, and Sony just couldn't compete at that time. We were right around the corner from the Walkman, and certainly the 80s Sony would dominate then, but at this time they were probably still trying to gain more market share. So kind of interesting look here, the tuner dial being mid-mounted and having the primary controls on top, and then meters to the left and also top mounted. So that set itself apart from everyone else. I initially thought it was a little bit of an awkward look, to be honest with you. But over time, it's kind of grown on me, and I very much like it. It has this sort of subtle green and has a matte sort of finish on it. Doesn't sort of shine, as blingy as a lot of the other models of that same time frame. But including the front being unique, it's a very heavy unit, very well built, and quite solid. So I'll go on. We'll show some up close shots here, and then after that, we'll come back and talk about the functionality. All right, well, I hope you like those up close shots. It's a nice looking unit. As I mentioned, kind of distinctive, from other models, but very cool. So we're gonna talk now about the specs and about the functions of this particular unit. As a reminder, these units, this model line was from 1979 to 1980, so it wasn't around very long. It had an MSRP of $900 in 1980. So a pretty expensive unit at that time, pretty expensive. Now, starting with the points, we always start off with the watts and the power here. So it has 150 watts at 8 ohms, and so it's going to get 20 points for that. It does not have a 4 ohm spec though. It only handles speakers from 8 to 16 ohms, so no 4 ohm spec. Moving into phono, has 2 phonos, so 10 points each, so it has 20 points, and it also can accommodate an MC cartridge, so that's another bonus of 20 points. Moving into how many inputs, so it has 3 available inputs, and so that gets 10 points each, and that's a total of 30 points. Moving on into the other controls, has a balance, 5 points, has a loudness switch, another 5 points. Now into tone controls, it does have a tone defeat switch, which is nice to have, so that's 10 points. And then other controls, has a bass and treble control, so that's 5 points each. It has a high-low filter, so that's 10 points. And some of the bonus that others might get, it has nice meters. These are very cool meters, nice green glow to them. 20 points for the additional meters. And then on into the AC outlets, these convenient switches here. It has 1 switched and 1 unswitched, so that gets 10 points and 5 points respectively. And then lastly, how many sets of speakers? So it can accommodate 2 sets of speakers, and for that it gets 10 points each, so that's 20 total points. All added up, it's 185 points. All right, well there you have it, the Sony STR V7. Probably assumed it was going to score a little higher, I think. That was my expectation. But it missed out on a few important categories, not having a wood case, not having preamp, amp separation, and the 4 ohm spec was missing. So without those, it cut down on the points quite a bit. Had it had some of those, it would have gone over 200, but doesn't have it. Still a very, very nice receiver, paired up with a nice set of 8 ohm speakers, and you've got an awesome system, but just doesn't have some of the flexibility that the other receivers have. So hope you enjoy that. You want to make sure you don't miss the upcoming videos, hit subscribe, and if you want to get notified, check that bell. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in.